For joining us today. My name is Megan Ohlendorf, and I run PR and social media over here at AVO. So today we are going to be talking about digital dictation and transcription. You should all be able to see that on your screen. And I'm very pleased today to say that we have a guest with us. Her name is Andrea Cannavina, and Andrea is the founder of the LegalTypist. And a little bit of background on Andrea. She has, for more than 8 years now, been working with attorneys, business owners, office managers, legal assistants at firms of all sizes, from large firms to solo practitioners. And she works with them to determine what's the best technology and equipment to help them be more productive, efficient, and secure in their business practices. So she is a great person to talk about this, and she'll be going through today, again, talking about digital dictation and transcription. So I just want to encourage everybody, there is a question box. You should be able to see that on your screen. And so as we go through, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in there, and we'll address those. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea.
Great. Thank you very much, Megan. And I see we have some callers online. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know it's a really busy, hectic kind of thing, and I do appreciate your taking the time to listen to me talk about digital dictation and transcription, which is something that I have been a part of and have known about for, just as Megan had mentioned, for about 8 years now, actually going on 9. I started my practice in 2001, and I really haven't looked back. The main criteria for most of my technology choices for my company is security, confidentiality, making sure that you can maintain those. And personally, I'm all about mobility and being able to get at your information from anywhere. So a lot of my tech is tech that will also help you in getting your work done. Now, what are we going to talk about today? For today's agenda, we're going to talk about why dictate. I really do get this a lot of the time. People think that dictation is an antiquated process. They think dictate, they think typewriter, they think nobody needs a typewriter anymore, which of course you don't. So therefore they're throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. Next is for firms that actually do dictate still, they do it to tape. And so I'm going to go into some of the differences between why you want to just upgrade to digital and get rid of the tapes. Those are getting started. I give you a lot of tips with regard to the equipment that you can use to upgrade, the software that you can use to upgrade, and for actually some tips for people on how to dictate, because they do think of it as an antiquated process. It really has kind of gone by the wayside. So some tips for you to understand how to dictate. Then there's digital transcription basics. I've added that to this presentation because I want you to know that there is software out there, and as a transcriptionist, it's half of the business process itself. When you take transcription away from the dictation, you really lose half of the productivity gains. So transcription is very important, whether it's your own assistant, a virtual assistant, or transcription service such as LegalTypist. It doesn't really matter, but it's still a very important part of this entire business process. And then, of course, I follow up with a little bit of, to outsource or not outsource, because it is not always the best option for everybody. So moving right along, why do we want to dictate? You know, I hear things all the time like, I can type, or I think while I'm typing, or I know how to use software. And those are all very valid reasons, but do you think that this process, first of all, this process has been along probably for as long as there have been bosses and assistants. I don't know what they were writing on when they first invented that relationship. But so it is a known business process, and it has worked for hundreds of years, let's say. So do you think that attorneys didn't have the ability to learn how to type on a typewriter? So, that's what I hear. It's like when I can type. And then, of course, there's the classic, speaking is actually about 4 times faster than typing. And if you don't believe me, go ahead. Try to keep talking at a normal pace and keep your fingers on those keys and see whether or not you can't, keep up. Because it really is a quicker way for you to get things done. It's the most productive, as a matter of fact. I like to quote David Allen a lot. A lot of my processes are based on his. And it's only one of 6 of the tools that he says to help you get what's in your head and out and usable. It's a collection tool. It's a tool that you can utilize to reorganize what it is that you need to get done. And that's because a lot of people don't think about, they think about dictation, like I said, they do about typing. First of all, the documents aren't going anywhere. They've just changed in form, and they've gone to electronic. They still need to be typed, so that process itself is still there. Pardon me. But along with the transcription of the documents, it's not the only thing that was ever dictated. When I started working in law firms 20 years ago, a tape could have everything on it from to adjourn a court date, to get in touch with an adversary, to coordinate a lunch with somebody, to check on a trial exhibit, to file an appellate brief. You were in and amongst the documents and stipulations and other legal documents were, of course, instructions to me. So the dictation doesn't just equal documents. Dictation equals pretty much delegating, because, back in the day, like I said, with my boss, if he could delegate it and I could get it done, that was one less thing that he had to worry about. So that's why it's actually a very good tool for you to get things done, and not just documents, but everything that you need. Now, of course, again, this is a known business process. We'll take it. The last time it jumped in a productivity issue due to technology was when it went from a human being, which was somebody sitting there with a steno book and a pen in hand and a knowledge of shorthand, usually, to tape. And that really improved the business process itself, because now the two people weren't tied up in the same part of it. The dictator can now be separate from the transcriptionist, and they could still, get their work done. It really literally freed up attorneys. So long as they had their recorder, a case file, and batteries, and fresh tapes, they were pretty much ready to go and could dictate from home on the weekends or if somebody was sick. So it really helped them be able to be more efficient with their time. And it also helped on the administrative level, because the people that were processing those tapes could now do so in between their regular activities. So they weren't pulled away from their desk and their telephone and the command central, so to speak, tied up for a couple of hours because somebody was doing a stipulation. So that was the 70s, and that was the last known business increase process for this particular business process. Now jump along into, I got to explain to you, tape dictation, of course, is better than a human being, but it's also not the best process in this day and age, and that's because tapes get mangled, tapes get lost, and the worst part about the tape is it's a physical something. It needs to be in the same physical location as the dictator and the assistant at some point in time. So either it needs to be Federal Expressed if you're not in the same place at the same time, or left on your chair, left on her chair. There's this physical transfer. And of course, it's a linear process, which means anything that you dictated on that tape, if it was a 30-minute long tape, any one of the various projects that were in the middle could all of a sudden rise up in priority, and it would be a very difficult thing to try to fast forward and find this one particular task. And of course, if you needed to hand it off to somebody else, that you again ran into the physical issue. So from an administrative managerial point of view, tapes certainly are not the best option. So that's why I say, you got to go digital. And when you get to the digital part of everything is when everything kind of starts to smooth out, because now instead of having this tape and or a need to personally keyboard everything into every program you've ever utilized, you now have a process that allows you to record your voice to a DSS file, a WAV file, an MP3. These are all very common audio file formats, and of course, these are electronic in nature. So gone is the physical part of it, and now you can utilize the internet, your own internal network, software, whatever it is, and how you fashion your digital workflow. You can utilize many different options, all of which are very inexpensive for the most part, and immediately you'll see improvement in the actual business process going from tape just to digital. So we're going to get another jump in business productivity because we've gotten rid of the tape. Now, when you do the jump to digital dictation, you really have two options, and a lot of it has to do based on size. That's one of the first things I have to ask people when they call me and they're asking me, what to do for them, is how many people are we talking about coordinating here? If we're talking about coordinating yourself and an assistant, possibly two, then the least expensive upgrade for you is just to go to a digital recorder and utilize its internal software in order for you to get the work to the people that need to get it. This is going to give you an immediate jump in productivity versus typing everything yourself and or tape-based dictation, just because you have this ability to coordinate with people off-site and you have the ability to work from anywhere. Now, which means away from your own keyboard, by the way. Now, if you're a larger establishment, or if you're going to be sending work out to a lot more people, then you want to probably upgrade to the next level, which is a digital workflow itself. That's not to say that singles and solos shouldn't have a digital workflow. It gives benefits far and beyond just upgrading to a digital recorder. It allows you to work from anywhere. It generally allows you to utilize any type of equipment to do the recording, such as a telephone, your regular standard telephone, no app required. But it also allows you to do a lot of the managerial things, which is why it's generally put in place in your larger environments. And that's because web-based, you'll get your metrics in your recording. Remember how I said just going from to a tape was a linear process? Well, going to a digital workflow is not, because each individual job, as you complete it, becomes an independent file. So that independent file can be tracked in many different ways, and depending on how you set yourself up with your software or with your vendor. So you're going to get the improvements of being able to much more carefully track and flow, see the track of your work and hand work off to different people, and utilize it even more. I mean, you can really stop just going and getting your documents done. Now you're getting, somebody's taking care of your calendar, somebody's taking care of your contact database. All of these things now are getting out to you, and so long as you can get this information to the people that need it securely, and they can get at the programs or software that you utilize to get your work done, now you're really good to go. And now you're cooking, you're cooking with gas at this point. So here we go with the recording. What is it that you actually need to get started? You have several options, and this is really one of the reasons I think why people get very intimidated by the digital dictation and transcription process. First, nobody likes to hear themselves recorded. I'm a Toastmaster myself, and I had to get over a massive fear of public speaking. Getting up in front of groups of people has always been a very difficult thing for me. I didn't realize it actually until I was an adult, but I'm now over that. And now I can get up and pretty much talk in front of anyone, and of course I do my webinars. But that said, there's a lot. One of the problems for people is getting over the natural fear of recording themselves, and then getting over the natural fear of dictating, like somehow you won't be able to do it. Again, this is a business process mainstay for a very, very long time. You will be able to do it. You will learn how to do it. It's not a difficult process, and as you get better at it, it only improves your efficiencies. So how do you want to capture your recordings? You have your choice. You have a portable digital recorder. There's many makes out there. For clients of LegalTypist, I recommend the Philips 9600. This is a unit that is very similar to a tape recorder, keeping in mind that a lot of my clients are people who are accustomed to dictating and prefer a slide switch, which the 9600 has, or they're people that don't particularly like to have to press on teeny tiny little buttons. Unfortunately, as the technology has grown, a lot of the companies believed in trying to make their recorders as small as possible, not thinking that this is an actual physical process that people with big hands may have to actually manipulate. So that's why I like the 9600. It has the heft and the weight plus the slide switch. It is very reminiscent of its antiquated earlier tape-based cousins. So if you want to be able to, if you're an administrator of a law firm and you want to roll out with a particular recorder and you have people who utilize tape-based dictation already, I honestly believe that your best option is the Philips 9600. You will not, really the only difference for the dictators that you may need to explain is that instead of handing off a tape, they have to dock the recorder. Once their recorder is docked, they'll hear a little bloop bloop as the software pulls it from the recorder into the computer or into the network, however it is that the IT people have it set up on that end. And pretty much for all intents and purposes, that's it. That's the only thing that the dictator has to do different when you implement with the 9600. There is another one, actually, that I saw at, it was Legal Tech New York last year. It's by Grundig, which is a German company, and it's called the Dicta 420. The reason why I like this one, I kind of call it like the military's version of a dictation machine because it is that sturdy. It's a rounded shape. It's got the grippy feel to it, and it just seemed to me like, if you threw it in a lit bag 100 times, you certainly weren't going to be hurting it. That's Grundig's Dicta 420. The other nice thing about it is it has a color screen, which when you're in some dim lit situation, sometimes dictating on a plane or in a car, the color screen can actually make the difference in how you utilize the control. So that's another great portable digital recorder. I want to caution anybody who is purchasing a recorder, don't just go to your local office, big supply chain store and just pick one up that's $29.99. you're going to find them. They're there. Some may have the features that you're looking for in terms of dictation, but some of them actually have no way to get the file out of the unit, so that pretty much makes it completely useless in terms of dictation and transcription. That's just a recorder. That's not a dictation machine. So you do have to pay attention. There are some inexpensive ones that you can find. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying that if you are going to be somebody that's heavily utilizing dictation as a means to get your work done, you want to, you should get the best equipment for the cost. And again, that's where I go with the Philips recorders and the Dicta 420. You can also do dictation software. Dictation software basically turns your computer into a dictation machine. You load it, you install it, and then when you run the program, you utilize generally what's known as a hand mic. The Philips Speak Mic, I think they're called, is something that would get attached to a USB, and you would talk into that. It has buttons on the front for you to control the software. There are other dictation software that allows you to use a headset and a regular mic. But, I guess you can always go Bluetooth, keeping in mind that the more kind of technology that you put into it, probably the poorer quality recording you're going to get out. So since this is only half of the process, you want to try to keep that recording as good as possible. So you're generally going to have a handheld unit, and then the dictation software takes care of all of the routing and doing all of the things that you need done with it on that end. The third option here we have is the telephone. A lot of my processes are set up via telephone for telephone usage. In my mind's eye, a telephone is the most basic standard piece of technology that everybody knows how to use and you can get at from everywhere. So that's why I set up my processes so that my dictators can get at their stuff from any telephone. I say this because there are a lot of people that say, well, why would I, I have a recorder, so why would I want to use a telephone? And for those, I say that's okay, you don't have to, but it is actually nice to have the option, and we have had people who have been on vacation who have found themselves suddenly separated from their office and their things that have been able to process work and get things done because they had access to a telephone. So it is something that you might want to consider in your larger IT environments. Again, they have add-ons for the dictation software. The largest dictation softwares, I'm sorry, I didn't even get to mention for your larger installations, your WinScribe, your Big Hand. These are network software, server-type applications that you would integrate into your existing equipment and, of course, configure with the help of those various companies. So you do have your larger dictation software companies. And the smaller ones, if you're just a solo or you're a small firm, I cannot say enough nice things about NCH SwiftSound. That's website is www.nch.com.au. And they have all kinds of software for businesses that you can utilize. They have a free 30-day trial on Express Dictate. It's called Express Dictate by NCH. And what that does is, again, turns your computer into a dictation machine and helps you route the files through. For, I think the license on this, a single-user license, is just about $50. So it's a very comprehensive digital dictation application, and its price point is only $50. So it certainly is a great option for people who don't have problems downloading, installing, and configuring software, or even for larger installations. If you have an active IT department, you can do a full rollout with this, with them coordinating the integration of the software, and it's a very cost-effective way for larger installations to get digital and do it frugally. Now, I am all about frugal. I don't know if it's my Scottish genes or anything, so I'm certainly the type of person, back in the day when people first started having cell phones, they'd have like 2 cell phones and a beeper, and they'd be carrying all of this equipment around, and I always tried to wonder why, and goodness, it's bad enough that you have to pay for it and pay for the services to it, but then you have to carry it around with you, charge it, care for it. So if you already have a personal mobile device, chances are that thing can record. And if you can get it to record into a file format that's open standard, we're talking your WAV and your DSS for the most part, you already have a dictation machine there. You just have to make your personal mobile device act like a dictation machine. And again, I gotta love nch.com because they do have an app for that. I'm not an iPhone person, but they actually yesterday just came out with a new free iPhone app. And if you head over to my blog, I posted the site where you can go get that from, or learn more about it. My blog is www.blog.nch.com. www.legaltypist.com. And again, it's free, so if you have an iPhone and you're an iPhone-carrying person and you want to be able to see whether or not how this all works, you can just download the app and play around with it right there on your iPhone. I think from that point on, it encrypts, because I know NCH, they're pretty good with their security. It does an automatic encryption before it emails out to wherever you tell it to go. So if you run into issues or have any questions, definitely give me a call on that. So let's see, we've covered what it is that you need to record, and when ordering your equipment, I have a long-standing relationship with Brett Williams of AmericanDictation.com, not just for my own clients, but for the other business people that I sent to him. Not everybody has dictation needs. This gentleman knows everything about recording. If you have conferences, if you have large numbers of people, if you have tiny conference rooms, whatever it is that you need to record, if you give Brett Williams over at American Dictation a call, he'll be able to help you select the recorder that's perfect for whatever it is that you need done. And of course, he's also an authorized dealer of Philips, so you can order the next 9600s through him. And he's also good for the headsets and the foot pedals if we have any transcriptionists on the call that want to be able to get their equipment at a decent price, because there's other places out there and you can always try to get cheaper, but you never know what it is that you're going to get. You know, you go on eBay and you think that it's going to be okay, but you're not sure if it's going to work. With Brett, you know that you're only getting what it is that you need, and you're only paying as much as you should be. So that said, if you say LegalTypist sent you, he gives you free shipping on orders over $200 too. So he's really a nice guy and offers LegalTypist contacts free installation assistance as well. So if you run into a problem loading or connecting anything, you can just give him a call and he'll walk you through everything. Now, let's get started with actually how to dictate. I'm sure there are people on this call who dictate, and I'm sure there's people on this call that have never dictated before. So those of you who have had, if you don't, I'm sorry. I'm just going to do a quick rundown for people who haven't. Dictating is kind of like anything else. When you're getting ready to do a big project, you got to organize everything. So you want to get all of your papers and your thoughts and things, and you might even want to draft a little bit of an outline about what you're going to say, because you want to, kind of collect it and have it all there and have it handy. Now remember, you're recording. This isn't live, so you don't have to worry about making sure that you know everything that you're going to say before you even start, because you're going to pause in between. You're going to record when you have a good thought. You're going to think about stuff. You're going to shuffle through some papers. You're going to read through stuff, and then you're going to hit record, and you're going to start talking again. So it's not the same as being live. There's nobody listening to you live, and you don't have to be that organized in your thoughts, because you do actually have a pause button. Now, it's always kind of nice if you start each file with a little bit of a history or a little bit of an idea of what's coming up, so that the transcriptionist who gets it on the other side, whether it's your assistant or whatever, has an idea of what it is, if it's going to be a long file, if it's going to be something that they need to pull up a template for. So just hi, this is blah, 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 and this is what, we're doing here, and that's pretty much all you need. But it does help set the scene for the transcriptionist to be more prepared for what it is that you're having done. The difference in one thing that you have to do when you're dictating is you must actually speak your punctuation. So at the end of a sentence, you would say, period, new sentence, or new paragraph. And you also need to speak any special instructions, because you're not typing this yourself. You're speaking it. You want something bold, centered, and underlined. You better say, you have to say bold, centered, and underlined. Otherwise, it'll just be straight across. It's best for you to say any of these directions prior to the words that are going to be acted upon. So if you wanted a heading centered, it would be better for you to say, okay, now we'd like bold and centered. This is a heading. And point 2, the appellant, blah, blah, blah. And that, again, if you say it before, then the transcriptionist knows and is already typing it in the transcript or in the document, and doesn't have to go back and perform those functions afterwards by blocking and whatnot. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. You really do need to spell out any types of names, places, or terms d'art. A lot of times you think that you're saying somebody's name very clearly, but it's on the other end if you listen to the recording. Now, digital recording, a ton better, and you can even tweak it and whatnot, remove background noise and things of that nature, but still it's best for you to spell out any names if they're not, especially if they're not going to be familiar to your transcriptionist. Relax. Like I said before, a lot of people get really, 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 really nervous recording their own voice. This isn't live recording. First of all, your transcriptionist or your assistant is not critiquing you. Okay, if it's a transcription or a transcription service that you're using, they're barely listening to what it is that you're saying. It's like driving. When you're typing and you're typing that much all the time, you're just really just going through the motions. You're not even really comprehending what's being said. And of course, if it's your own assistant, it's your own assistant, and I don't know, I can't see any of them critiquing you either. So if you just settle down, if you organize your thoughts, if you get an idea, if you form an outline, if you remember that you have the ability to pause and stop at will, I think that anybody will enjoy the ability to get things done without actually typing them. So I think you should give it a shot. Now, what are we talking about in terms of transcription? See, that's, again, the yang, the yin, the yang. Here we are in transcription, and there's some basics. First of all, if you're using your own in-house assistant and you're going up to digital dictation, she now needs to go up, moved up to digital transcription. Here's the free software that you were told that you were going to get. It's called Express Scribe by nch.com.au. These guys have been putting out this transcription software for as long as I have been in business. It has always been free. They give it away in the hopes that you will try their other stuff, but I can tell you that of course you don't have to, and if you buy an Olympus, you may not want to. However, or an Olympus, a Philips, however, I just lost my train of thought. I apologize. So you go to Express Scribe, you go to nch.com.au. You download Express Scribe, and now your transcriptionist doesn't need any software. This is a software that is reliable. It's been in use. Lots of places use it, not just some of my own typists themselves. So this transcription software, just like dictation software would turn your computer into a dictation machine, transcription software turns your assistant's machine into a transcription machine. However, she still will require a few more items, and that would include a foot pedal and a headset. These two items will probably run you less than $200, and the reason why you need the headset is if you're utilizing the speakers, you'd be surprised how much sound actually gets lost from even 6-8 inches away from your head. So you're going to need a headset if she doesn't have a headset, and a foot pedal just actually speeds the process along. I'm a WordPerfect girl from way back, and I don't actually use a foot pedal anymore for transcription. Express Scribe allows me to set hotkeys, and I got used to that very early on, using hotkeys instead of a foot pedal, because I just didn't want any more wires and stuff underneath my desk. But that's my own personal preference, and it might not be that of your assistant, and a foot pedal is the best, is the standard. So if, of course, you want to improve this process as painlessly for everybody, for all of your dictators, you'll get them a recorder with a slide switch, and for all of your transcriptionists, you'll get them a decent headset and foot pedal to get that done. Again, the free transcription software is Express Scribe, and it's available from nch.com.au. The next question I get by a lot of people is whether or not to outsource or not. You know, once you move up to digital dictation, this should be immediately your next consideration, because prior to going digital, you didn't have it available to you. But now that you are digital, it is something that you might want to work into your firm's workflow. And that doesn't matter, again, if you're a firm of 1 or a firm of 1,000, because outsourcing relationships really help everybody at the firm. If you have an assistant, the ability to outsource some of the functions or have a way at least to relieves the stress of this one assistant having to do everything and keep up with you. Let's face it, some of you guys are pretty heavy work producers, and for a lot of the legal secretaries and assistants out in the field, even in your larger establishments, you've been asked, you're still being asked to do work for maybe 3, 4, sometimes 5 separate attorneys. And that's a lot of coordinating for one human being to do. So it kind of makes sense to take the transcription aspect of just perhaps your document workflow and consider outsourcing that to somebody else, or consider outsourcing one particular duty or your administrative stuff, just something to take off the stress if you're finding that your work is not getting done as quickly as possible. And again, if you're single and you just have a single assistant, just upgrading to digital dictation and transcript for the two of you will probably start showing you places where you have more time, and perhaps, you know, the things that are piling up that aren't getting taken care of can now be taken care of because of the improvement in that part of the process. When you're outsourcing, you're going to want to consider a couple of things. A lot of this depends, again, on your size. Your smalls, your solos. If you're going to look for a virtual assistant, I say, you have to do it carefully. You have to go through the process as carefully as you would an in-house assistant. This is not just typing. You are giving these people access to your client's confidential workflow and information. So you need to make sure that your tech is secure, and you need to make sure that the person that's processing the work understands confidentiality and how to apply it in the real world. Unfortunately, in my world, being called a virtual assistant, normally it gets a kind of deer in the headlights look. I like to say anybody with a computer and a dream and a connection to the internet can call themselves a virtual assistant. There really is no regulation, no certification, no nothing for people in my profession. So you really do want to vet your candidates very carefully. Does this mean that if somebody doesn't have credentials and virtual assistant that they're not a possible candidate? No. But you may be getting into a relationship with somebody who's new and is just starting out in their practice, and that's fine if they can't give you references or the telephone and contact information of current clients, which is usually the number one thing I say to look for, because if a VA has successful clients today, that's a good sign. But if they're just starting out and they can't give you references to former employers, you want to make sure that these individuals have the skill set or the software or whatever specialty is necessary for whatever it is you're trying to get done, whether that's a specialty in bankruptcy, a knowledge of a particular program. Again, you want to try to match the person to the process as closely as possible, making sure that they're a professional and that you understand and that they understand that the technology is, of course, secure and that the information is confidential. So if you can go through and find individuals to do that as a solo, you're going to look probably, I would say, do a Google search for virtual assistant and your location and see if you can't find somebody that's close by. While a virtual assistant can help you virtually, that doesn't technically mean they can't ever meet you face-to-face. And a lot of times, especially in the law, local rules and regulations and formatting requirements are different. So if you find somebody that's maybe not in your particular county, but perhaps in your state, they might already know these little idiosyncrasies that somebody that's in a different state may not. And again, vet them very carefully and make sure that you feel comfortable talking to them. Make sure that they have agreements. If they don't present you with an agreement, then you really shouldn't be working with that person. And that's because VAs are independent contractors, and we are, contract workers. That's what we do. So if we're not presenting you with a contract, then you might want to look out, because I'm no lawyer, as everybody knows. I don't play one on TV, but you don't want to run afoul of any of the various requirements and whatnots on whether or not whatever governmental agency looking at the relationship considers it one of an employee or not. So, of course, if you have a contract, that's a really big, important thing. So you don't want to work with anybody who doesn't have a contract. And you just want to be careful with who it is. You can search for people online. You can go to Google. There's several actual virtual assistant associations that you can search through their member directory. One of the biggest and most well-known is IVAA.org, which is International Virtual Assistants Association.org, and they have an RFP system, a request for proposal. So if you have certain needs, you can certainly, by all means, go over there, indicate what your needs are, and have somebody qualified get back in touch with you. If you're looking for somebody in particular, too, and you're having any kind of difficulty, by all means, give me a call. I'm always here to talk to people. I love to help people tweak their tech, as I like to call it. And if you ever want to just speak about what it is that you're looking to do, and if I know of a virtual professional, I'll just put the two of you in touch. I have been doing this for quite a long time, so I know a lot of the people out there. And these are for, some of your specialty things. You don't really know what it is you're going to outsource yet. If it's your regular documents and things, then you can search for somebody that perhaps a former employee even you might want to set up to help you work to get your stuff done. These are all options that are available, provided that, you make sure that the process itself is secure. You can pretty much work with anyone. Now, I like to say, it's going to improve your workflow. It's going to take stress off of you, off of the people around you. Just having the ability to know that this work can get done, that it's going to get done by somebody else. For some people, I do want to point out, because somebody said something to me the other day, and I thought it was a very interesting point. they said that it was easier for them to type, and it was better for them to get the job done now than for them to have to wait a couple of hours after speaking the job and then work on it again. And I guess I could agree with that with some people, but what I took away from that is somebody is rushing and busy and going through a project, and therefore maybe not giving it the time and consideration that it needs. When you work with a virtual assistant or when you work with somebody who's not in-house, what you're going to find is there's turnaround times, and those should be stated in the contract. And those general turnaround times, for the most part, are in between 24 and 48 hours. So anything that you speak today will be done, say, by tomorrow, for the most part. And to that person, that was not something that they felt was a benefit. And in thinking about it overnight, I do think it is a benefit, because I think one of the things that we go through in this day and age is everybody's so rushed for everything. Everything's a rush, 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 rush. Everybody's moving here. You know, instead of technology taking away the stress, I think it's actually building it up, you know, because you're making yourselves instantaneously available through your personal mobile devices, and people are calling you at all hours, and emails are buzzing off, and if you have a BlackBerry, it probably never stops buzzing. And from what BlackBerry owners tell me, that even when it's not buzzing, and there's like this phantom buzz now where you think that it buzz. So I think that slowing down in this one particular process in the creation of your work product, or be that, you know, documents, or be that what I call a brain dump, whatever it is, it gives you 24 hours to still consider and process these things, and then look at whatever we're going to use a document as whatever document it is, with a clean, fresh eye. And 9 times out of 10, when you put a little bit of time in between the time you create a document and the time you finalize it, you're going to improve it. You're either going to tighten up the language, you're going to think of different points, you're going to give yourself the opportunity to mull over what it is that you said a little, and see if you can't tweak it and make it a little bit better. So I do feel that dictation itself is an underutilized business process by many, not just because, you know, I provide transcription services to attorneys, but because I think that people don't understand the value of getting out the stuff. They think that it's all documents. It's not. But even if it was only documents, even being able to speak them is going to give you a benefit and a bonus over doing the typing all by yourself, because, again, everything is typing these days. And if you're not even if you're the fastest typist, you still speak faster. So I highly recommend that if you haven't considered digital dictation, that you do, that you start thinking about ways to incorporate it, that you start thinking about the duties or the tasks that that always seem to pile up, is really a good indication of either you need to delegate that task to somebody else, or you need to delegate other things so that you can get to that task. So it's a whole bit of a learning process for anybody that's going to upgrade to this process. You know, start thinking about dictation, start thinking about adding it, start thinking about the ways that you like to work. Do you like to work from behind your desk? If so, dictation software may be the most inexpensive way for you to go. Do you want to be portable? Yes. Well, then, do you want to be portable with a telephone? Can you make your personal mobile device record? Do you want to carry a portable recorder? These are all different options, and these are all things that need to be done before you can even get to the dictation stage. So you want to get those things in place. And then you want to start considering how it is that you're going to take care of the getting done part of whatever it is you're getting out. So you want to figure out if you're going to be sending it to an assistant. You're going to want to see if you want to incorporate virtual assistants. You want to consider working with a transcription company. There's a lot of different ways that you can actually get the stuff done on the other end. So now it's time for you to start figuring out how to do those. So, you know, once you figure out what you want to do, once you're digital, once you figure out who's going to do it on the other end, well, you've now created your own digital document workflow. And when you have that, then you have the ability literally to get work done from anywhere you happen to be. And that is really what it's all about, is making you mobile and making your workflow accessible, not necessarily making you accessible. And that concludes, actually, today's session. I'm not sure whether or not we have any questions. Megan?
No questions at the moment, but I think let's stay on the line for a couple minutes and see if any come in.
Okay.
And I will pass them along if they do come in. Thank you very much.
I'm never one that likes to hear the silence. I wish there was a way for us to open up and talk to some of the callers on the line. But I actually put up a screen here. Let me explain the screen that I have up. I do offer everybody free consultations. I do like to talk to people about their tech, and in over 8 years of doing it, I can guarantee you one thing. Everybody does everything differently. So if you want to give me a buzz and you want to let me know how it is that you're doing things, if I can see a place for improvement for you, I'm more than happy to, like I said, tweak the tech. It's very easy to set up an appointment with me. You can go right to my website. There's a gold starburst on every page, and you just click on that and pick a time that's good for you. But for those of you who may not be webby or don't want to do that, you can also call my toll-free number, 866-848-2195, extension 104, and that'll put you through to Tracy, my operations manager, and she can answer a lot of your questions, or you can set up a time, and she'll set up a mutually convenient time for us to sit down and talk. So it's very simple to do that if you don't have any questions today.
Andrea, we actually just got one question. Somebody asked, you mentioned digital workflow best for getting info to more than 2 people securely. Mm-hmm. Can you expand upon that, more information?
Okay. A digital workflow is one that allows you to get at the information, generally speaking, from a web-based account or a way to log in if it's a larger installation into the network and get at the workflow and manipulate the workflow itself so that you can see which files you have, which person has them, and you can route them to the different people depending on how. It's really a question of depending on which workflow you're using. Like each one of the digital dictation companies has a different way of setting everything up. But there's modules if you want to outsource, for instance, with, I want to say it's WinScribe. WinScribe recently went with a module that you could add on to their product that would allow you to securely outsource to people outside of the physical network. So it all really depends on how many people you are and how many people you're trying to get the work to. For my own company, for instance, if you wanted to set up a digital workflow and you wanted some files to go to Sally in California and some files to go to Bob in Boston, we would set up 2 different typist accounts, and you would be asked to press 1 for Susie and 2 for Bob. And that would be how we would set it up if you were utilizing the tech of my company. But again, every large workflow, all workflows are different, and each has their own nuances, so it would depend on which one you would pick. I hope that answered that. Is there a way for me to poll the audience, Megan?
Yeah, I think there's just another question that came in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. She says, I work for an attorney who uses Basecamp for projects, and I never thought about it, but I guess dictation files can be sent that way also.
Yes, Basecamp could be the way for you to securely upload and download files, but that is not necessarily a way to track the workflow as carefully as would a digital dictation or a digital workflow itself. But yes, there are several ways for you to transfer the files back and forth that are secure besides Basecamp. Basecamp, for people who don't know, Basecamp is a online project management software, and it has several different modules. And one of the modules allows you to upload and download files. And Basecamp, while not expensive, if you just want to be transferring files with somebody securely, has a module called backpackit.com. And for less than $7 per month, what Backpackit gives you is 100 independent web pages that allow you to share things with other people. For instance, you could have a page that is public and everybody sees, or you could have a page that you only invite one person via email to see, and that person can only see it. It's not, so they're each independent of each other, and you get 100 pages, and it's less than $7. So it's a very secure way and a very easy way to explain to people who are less than techie how to upload and download and get your files securely. Another service that I recommend is sendthisfile.com, Send This File. They have a freebie service that actually after 3 days, I spoke to corporate about this. It's it would be very difficult for them to get any file back after 3 days. But that said, they also have a very inexpensive, I believe it's less than $10 per month, and you can set up a box on your website. and tell people, send them to this page on your website and tell them if you have something that you need to get to me securely, go here on my website, browse to the file on. There's a little box there that send this file, gives you the code to put right on your website, and a little button, browse, and you tell them browse to the file and upload it, and then you would get an email that would notify you that a file has been received, and you would log into your Send This File account and grab it. So those are two very inexpensive ways for people to, quote, collaborate and to get files and documents back and forth through the internet, but in a secure fashion.
All right, well, I think we'll stay on here for another minute or two, so if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in to the module there. Andrea, you mentioned about polling the audience, and I don't know that we have the capability to do that, but perhaps we can send follow-up emails to the folks that signed up here today to get some information.
Okay. I just thought, you know, again, a lot of the stuff that I recommend to people is based on size. So I just was trying to see basically how many, you know, how many were solos versus how many were larger firms. And interact a little. It's always nice to interact with people. Oh, speaking of interacting, if anybody wants to interact with me and you're on Twitter, I'm LegalTypist on Twitter. You know, look me up and follow me, and I'll follow you back. There's LegalTypist, you know, there's the website, and then there's also my e-zine, which if anybody wants to sign up for, I give all kinds of techie tips and just productivity issues, organization, and I teach about Webby stuff through my e-zine, which is called The Legal Connection. If you go to LegalTypist.com, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that there's a sign-up on every page. And, of course, again, I love to interact with people, so Twitter's a great thing. And if you're an attorney and you're in solo practice or you're in a small firm and you want to hook up with other solos that are just like you, go on over to the ABA Solo Says listserv. It's a free listserv maintained by the American Bar Association for anyone, not just lawyers, but it's a list of almost 3,000 lawyers. And some of them have great personalities, and if you have a techie question or if you have a procedural question or if you need something or you just want to hang out with some pretty funny people, by all means go on over to the ABA website and search for Solo Says and sign up for that listserv.
All right. Well, I think that can bring us to an end today. I don't see any more questions coming in right now. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you very much, Andrea. This is some great information. And for those of you on the line, we did record this, and we will be posting this on the AVO blog website, and certainly can point other people that may be interested in this topic or have questions to this presentation. And certainly you see on here Andrea's contact information, and you can definitely reach out and contact her directly as well. So thank you again, Andrea. I really appreciate your time this morning. It's a great presentation.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Take care.